Welcome to the One Day at a Time Recovery Podcast, where my guests share their stories of addiction, how they recovered, and the tools and practices they use to stay sober now. David, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for bringing me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations on publishing your book, I Am Someone You Know. What was the
Thank you.
tagline? Myth of the high-functioning alcoholic?
The tagline of the book, the fight for recovery and mental health.
Amazing. I don't know where I got that
Thank you.
other tagline, but
That's a good tagline too, though. That's definitely someone's tagline. That's a good one.
listen, the truth of the matter is you are an overachiever. I would say we were chatting before and I was like, yeah, this guy's got his shit together. You work really hard. You're my kind of people, the overachiever, self-help junkie kinds. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to talk
Good.
about some of the topics that have really been coming up for me and people in my world. Issues around dealing with shame, maybe
Mhm.
why telling your story is a great way to deal with resolving some of that shame,
Mhm.
lessons from relapse, that kind of stuff. But I always like to start with a little game called the lightning round, which is very slow. But
Okay.
we're gonna front load.
Okay. Let's
I
do
know,
it.
considering changing it to the turtle round, but it just doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah.
But
No, that's not as inviting. Let's call it the lightning round.
yeah, yeah.
All
So
right.
you've been sober nearly 15 years. Were
Mhm.
there any books that really helped you early on in your recovery journey?
Um, yeah. Well, I spent some time in AA with the big book,
Yeah.
obviously.
Also known as Alcoholics Anonymous.
Right. There's a really good book called Dry by Augustine Burroughs, which I've read over the years a few times. And it's always been a very good kind of affirmation and reminder and something that, yeah, anchors me home a bit. That one resonated with me. Just the author's life fit into not this exact same context, but similar kind of communities. High achieving school and college and got into the New York high achieving finance industry scene, but hid this very deep addiction in a community of people where drinking culture was prevalent and
Yeah.
ubiquitous. The challenge there is confronting this addiction in a community environment where everybody drinks, which was very similar to my feelings on college. And I went to a school where I think the drinking culture was, looking back on it now, I think it was insane, you know. I think
Yeah.
it was totally nuts. And at the time, it was more inviting. It was more enticing. It was more, oh, this is the way to process everything. This is the way to turn a bad day into a good one. This is the way to figure out how to talk to girls and feel comfortable. This is the way to try new stuff, do something crazy. It was just how to meet people and make friends. It was the conduit towards everything we did. And you come up in that environment and you just learn to associate drinking with everything, which that's a good sort of tipping point into my stories. I started
Oh, we're
to,
gonna get to your story.
oh, we're going to get there. Oh, we're still
Yeah,
in
we're in the
lightning
lightning
rounds.
round. I told you it was slow.
We're in the lightning round. Yeah, yeah, that's right. You did.
Yeah, it's slow.
Lightning round it is.
No, I just like to talk about books, right? I'm a total book
Mhm.
nerd. Memoirs are really important for a lot of people in recovery. We
Mhm.
just need to be able to hear our stories and other people's
That's
experiences,
right.
right?
That's right.
If you look at your 15 years of sobriety, is there a theme or a quote or a mantra you live by? And to give you a little time to kind of think about it, mine's obviously one day at a time. That's something that has carried me for over 3 decades now. Is there something like that that kind of fits for you?
Yeah, there is. Choose courage right now.
Choose courage right now. And what does that mean?
Choose
Like, do it scared?
choose courage right now means there are these inflection points every day of our lives where you can do the harder thing, or you can tuck tail and run, or you can kick the can down the road to tomorrow. These happen all the time. And they're as small as I wanted to go to the gym today. Am I going to do it? And they're as big as it's day 29 and I haven't had a drink. Am I going to see day 30? Or is 29 the one where I don't choose to be courageous? It's something my coach said. when I was rowing in college. He just reminded us to choose courage right now in the middle of every sort of hard practice or hard workout or whatever. But it was about something bigger. It wasn't about the workout, it was about the life lesson. And so that's what carried me through was what's the harder thing? What do I want to
Yeah.
feel? I'm going to make a choice and I want to look back and feel proud of the choice I made.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
No,
going to
that's,
almost always be the harder one.
yeah. There's that saying, easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that courage is about leaning in to the discomfort
Mhm.
and having that courage and persistence to dig a little deeper and get the lesson out of life. And it's growing pains really. So that's a really important one. That's a
That's
good
right.
one. Do you have a daily self-care practice, a weekly self-care practice to really support your mental health? What does that look like for you?
Great question. Yes, that's the cornerstone of everything. If I didn't have that routine and really think about and practice self-care every day, I don't know really where I'd be right now. When I stopped drinking, one of the first things I saw and realized was it seems obvious now, but at the time it doesn't because you want to keep drinking, right? But within a year, one of the first things that I realized was, holy shit, I'm capable of so much more than I realized. I've had these handcuffs on me for,
Yeah.
a decade and change, and I'm seeing success now at work, and my friends like me, and my body feels not like shit, and I can run again. And that's what I latched onto was these little feelings of success. And then, okay, cool, I'm doing good at work now. Let me do better. Let me do more. Let me take advantage of the fact that I have my access to my intelligence and resources, and I'm not at work bleary eyed. And what that's led to over time is creating a feeling of continuity and success wherever I can. Like that's what keeps me going. Not drinking is about self care. It's also about stepping out of my shadow and living my best life and doing as much as I can. And so a part of that isn't just making it to another day without drinking. That became the key first step in removing the handcuffs. But then it came a disciplined approach to work and a disciplined approach to my physical health, and yeah, a lot of exercise and working out and creating positive feelings and positive associations with other activities. Getting therapy. We talked about therapy
Yeah.
before, all the many therapists seen over the years.
Kudos to you, by the way, for continuing to evolve. And I feel like that was when you said that, you told me earlier before we hit record that you had 20 therapists or something, or 12 or
It
something.
was 12. Yeah,
12, sorry.
yeah.
Didn't
Come
mean
on
to
now.
up the ante for you. But to me, that's a sign of growth because typically a therapist or a coach or somebody has a specific skill set. And the point of working with somebody is to utilize their skill set. And when you feel like you've reached the limit, to grow and evolve and change and add in other tools that other people specialize in, right? So I don't
Totally.
necessarily see that as a bad thing, as having lots of different. I actually think that that's probably a really good idea. I've had
Yeah.
many sponsors over the years, and each person has something different to offer. So I think that's actually really wise.
Yeah. I had the last guy I worked with, the last coach and LFMT that I worked with him for 3 years. He's awesome. Mike,
Nice.
bless his heart. We got to a point where, about not that long ago, where he said, you kind of know all the stuff that I was going to teach you.
Yeah.
you. We've done this for 3 years.
Yeah.
We can keep meeting. You can, I appreciate your business, but you're sort of at a point where my practice has given
Yeah.
you what I'm able to give you
Yeah.
and what I've learned to teach people. So he used the word graduated. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's great.
Yeah.
So now I will probably see someone else, exactly like you said, for the
Yeah.
next thing.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that. I love trying to listen. I try all the therapies. I'm sort of like recovery promiscuous. I'll try all the things. All the things. I tried all the drugs. I will try all of the therapies.
That is a phrase I have not heard, and I like it. That is
Yes,
good.
it's all me. If you could go back to the David of 15 years ago, what would
Okay. Oh boy.
Like, what is something that you learned about yourself that surprised you over the years?
Oh man. Yeah, what I would tell myself if I went back 20 years is it doesn't have to be this hard. Um,
Yeah.
be vulnerable sooner, talk
Mm,
sooner, get help sooner. That's what I would tell myself.
that.
But I did not feel like I had the language to talk about mental health. I didn't feel like I had
Right.
the language to talk about addiction. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like there was an open forum or a place to go. And at least in my community and generation to talk about the changes that were happening in my head that were
Mhm.
really, really scaring me and what to do
Mhm.
about it. And I didn't do anything about it until I eventually landed in the hospital.
Put a pin in that for a second because we're done with the lightning round because I want to get into how we got here. And typically, I'll ask you to talk a little bit about childhood because the experiences that we have in childhood really set the stage for what's to come later.
Indeed.
So maybe we could start with what was your family like, life like growing up? Like, what did your parents do for a living? Did you have siblings? That kind of thing.
Yeah. My dad was an immigrant from Iran and he moved here when he was about in his late teens, right? And eventually he started a business as a photographer. I met my mom and eventually had us. My dad was an alcoholic and he's been sober himself since he was about when I was about 15. So he was probably 45 or so. And amazing for him. But yeah, childhood was rough in my house.
I was gonna say because if he didn't get sober until you were 15, that's a lot of formative years of living with
oh yeah.
somebody with an
Oh
issue.
yeah. No, it was scary in my house. And I would tell this to my parents now. It was very traumatic for me and for my sisters.
You have two sisters?
My two sisters.
Are you the
Um,
oldest?
no, I'm the middle.
Oh,
This
me too.
yeah, yeah, the
Stuck in the
middle
middle.
child stuff. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was my childhood. He was extremely hardworking and extremely dedicated, and he wasn't without love for us, but he was addicted to alcohol, and that shaped his
Yeah.
behavior, and that shaped the way he treated us. That shaped our lives, to be honest.
Do you recall like specific situations that made you were talking about feeling scared? Can you
Mhm.
think of specific, like what did that look like?
Yeah, I can recall a lot of them. I would say like his temper was explosive. He still has a temper. He's a fiery dude, and that's okay. He's got a very explosive personality for better or for worse, depends on how it's applied. But his temper was explosive, and that explosive temper was at the time imbued with alcohol, which
Right.
made it 10 times worse. So very little things would set him off. Any sign of perceived disrespect would set him off, to a point where, yeah, things could get pretty ugly.
Did he physically abuse you and your sister? Or was there corporal punishment? Like what did that look like?
Yeah, there were moments where it got physical. Those were few and farther between. It was more the psychological and fear,
Okay.
verbal abuse that was like predominant. When it did get physical, it was very scary. I was thinking as you asked that, we had a conversation earlier about how deep we were going to go. And I
Yeah.
said, we're going to go deep. So to answer your question, because I hesitated for a bit. Yeah, I think that the scariest thing that I remember, probably the most vividly, I had sort of chose to spend my birthday weekend with friends. I was like 14 or whatever, a freshman in high school. Had just moved to a new school and made new friends. So I was kind of trying to explore that. And one thing that he was very self-conscious about is his language and English. And it's his second language. So there's like just little grammar mistakes that people make. Just it does those little things that don't quite connect. And it can be funny, but to the person, it's probably not, right? It's
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and so language always was a trigger point.
Like if you corrected him?
Yeah, or like showed him up. So I was at
Ah,
the private school and I was like getting into doing well at school. And like there's something I use the word gregarious. And like, who uses that word? I had just learned it. And I'm like, I went out with friends and that made them so upset. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm gregarious. But I said it in a way that was meant to use a word they didn't know. I knew that I was doing that, and he knew that I was doing that. And that just set him off. And the real underlying issue was that I chose to, instead of doing a birthday dinner, which was probably more of our custom, I chose, I was at a park with my friends, and we were probably smoking weed and drinking beer and eating food. That was the real issue.
Mm.
And that was just a thing that they just couldn't really deal with, that hurt them like very, very much. My dad, like, sprung out of his seat. He was fast. He moved very fast. He moved like a player.
He's an athlete. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like much smaller than me, but like fiercely quick, and just like flew towards me. And I'm like backing up in the kitchen, and he corners me against the counter and the adjacent wall. And he like takes a knife, right, a big old knife, and he turns it towards himself, like right here, and then is pulling me towards it. So I'm being pressed against like the counter behind me, and like the butt of this knife, right? You want to hurt us? You want to kill me? Do you want to hurt us? And I'm petrified and can't move. I mean, I'm seeing the blade of this knife poking at his like shirt,
Heart.
Yeah, yeah. That's the physical side that I think of. It wasn't
Yeah.
so much like daily routine of like the belt. It was more
Right.
these very intense moments that were physically, yeah, very traumatic. That to me is something that's, yeah, extremely hard to forget, and probably had a very lasting impact, right?
Yeah, no, that'd be super traumatic.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I mean, that for sure. And my dad's great. He's come a long way. He
Yeah.
set the stage. He showed me a template for quitting.
Right.
And he
Yeah.
was the first one in his lineage to, because he grew up in an abusive household. I've learned
Oh, there
later,
it is. Yeah.
yeah, I've learned later from my mom more than him what he went through as a kid, which
Yeah.
was probably 10 times more intense and frequent and abusive and violent, and a lot of alcohol in his house. And so, you know, there's less blame for that and more understanding. You took steps towards putting a stop to the generational trauma that our
Right.
lineage has put forth. And then I took steps past where you went.
Right.
And instead of quitting drinking when my kid was 15, which is better than not quitting at all, I quit drinking before I had a kid. And maybe
Yeah.
his formative years will be a degree better than mine, which were a good degree better than yours. And we can keep this thing going. So that's how I
Yeah.
think of him, not as, this sort of this haunting memories from the past, and more of that's a reality. And him and I both have to reconcile with that. It's the truth. It's not going away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But looking at his own arc and seeing where it was incredibly difficult and had its own redemption, and I value that immensely now.
I always say that when we talk about our past and our parents, it's not an indictment of them. We're just simply stating the facts and sharing our experiences. The truth of the matter is, it's our parents grow and evolve too over time. I had very similar stories from when I was young with my mom. And
Mhm.
by the time she died, she and I were best friends. She was a completely different person. I will tell, I'll share stories with my husband about what my mom was like, and he doesn't know that person. Like he
Mhm.
literally cannot reconcile the stories I'm telling with the woman that he knew because she was so loving and positive. And I would
Oh,
imagine, yeah,
totally.
your dad's sober. Did he go through like a recovery program or
Yeah,
he found his own
he
way
was.
or
Yeah, he was. I think he was going to meetings every day. Alcoholics
okay.
Anonymous. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
very committed to AA.
Yeah.
And then he had a therapist and a counselor as well that focused
Yeah.
on addiction,
That's amazing.
alcohol recovery. Oh yeah, and then he was locked into that for a long, long time. He moved out. I mean, my mom kicked him out basically, and he ended up, and said, you're not coming back here unless you're sober, you know, and end of story.
For her.
Yeah, and so yeah, right, and so shout out to her. And I've talked to her a lot about this too. How did that? Is my first feelings on that were, how did that take so long, right? And then learning more about it and understanding the perspective of, it's not quite that simple.
It's very
We're,
complex. Yeah.
yeah, we're in a family. Is, we have a house. You guys are, we need food. You guys are in school. It's not just like flipping a
They love each
switch.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, there's deep love there. It's not just this simple thing, and
No.
understanding that more. But eventually she did say, yeah, you got to go, and you can't
Yeah.
come back until you have made this change and you're not drinking and are seriously working on a long pathway towards recovery and changing your behavior and
Yeah.
psychology. She, she started that off. She got the ball rolling for him. And I remember for the longest time he had this. And my dad is super cool. People that meet my dad now think he's this very zany. I'm in Berkeley, California. He wears cowboy boots. That's his. He lives a few miles from us. He wears cowboy boots most days. He goes to yoga for, he's 81. He goes to yoga for an hour and a half every
He's
day.
81.
Yeah, he
He doesn't,
does like,
yeah, that's amazing.
he does the Bikram where
Oh,
it's
yeah, yeah.
fucking
Hot yoga.
105 degrees.
Dude, that's my
He does
jam.
every every day, and he's fit and he's got acuity.
Yeah.
He's doing really good.
It's
And
amazing what
people that meet
happens when you
him,
quit drinking and go to therapy.
totally, and people that meet him now think he's the incredibly interesting, charismatic
Yeah.
person, and they're drawn to him in a way. And I totally get it. I
Yeah.
see it too. I'm, oh man,
If you only knew.
there's plenty more where this all came from, but yeah,
Yeah.
this is great. I love that you're resonating with people that way.
That's
People that,
super
my
cool.
friends and coworkers and people in my circle who've met him and crossed paths. It's always very fun for me to see that happen because he's so
I love
different.
that. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah,
Let's kind of switch gears a little bit because you're talking about by the time you were 15, you have
yeah.
this
I'm only
birthday
15 now. There's a lot.
experimenting. Was it around that
uh
15, 16-year-old period?
no, 12, 13.
Okay. It's in
Me
the
and
house, so you had access to alcohol and
yeah, I mean, when your parents drink a lot, you just assume things are normal.
yeah,
uh
it is normal for you.
yeah, I just sort of grew up assuming that all adults drank
Yeah.
full glasses of alcohol with dinner every night. Like, not an on the rocks small drink, but just a glass of it, like you would drink.
Long
Like
Island
a,
iced tea.
yeah, I
That's
thought that
normal.
was just sort of a thing. I thought people drank when they drove, like that, because that's what I saw. I'm serious. I just
Yeah,
figured
yeah.
that was kind of, oh, when you're older, this is sort of a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, there was that comfort and familiarity with it. I was
Did you
also
have
like,
that experience in the beginning where you have immigrant? I don't know if your mom is an immigrant as well, but
no,
no.
no.
So yeah, so I had sort of a similar situation where my mom was an immigrant from Mexico City and my daddy was from Kentucky, but it was this disparity in my own family. I go to the Mexican side of the family and they look at me like I'm white, and then I go to my white side of the family and they look at me like I'm Mexican. So it was kind of interesting. Even in my own family, it was kind of weird. Did you have a similar vibe to that?
Yeah, you said it.
Like kind of being
I didn't know who
othered?
I was as a kid.
Nobody does, yeah.
Yeah, it was, there
It's
was like,
confusing.
it was confusing. And yeah, being in a household with kind of this
Biracial.
mixed
Yeah.
biracial
Yeah.
family, and then one parent that's an immigrant, another that's just a long line of multiple generations in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. I had kids that were like, there's like Aladdin jokes were very prevalent.
Oh,
Yeah, that was Prince of Persia was big back then.
yeah.
There was a lot of that, and it was from the mean kids. It was to be mean. From my friends, it was in jest, but it's all still very not okay.
I don't belong and who am I? Yeah, that's confusing.
Yeah, I always was gregarious. I always had a pretty easy time fitting in and kind of sliding in with
Mm.
a cool crowd and being social. And
Did you have that chameleon ability to sort of blend in?
I think I did. I think I was able to kind of figure that out and
Yeah.
talk and comport myself in a way that sort of, yeah, fit nicely with whatever kids were doing at that time. But it wasn't so much the biracial thing. It was that I was using that skill of chameleon a bit or blending in or whatever. It was more, yeah, it was more concealing sadness. I was a very sad. I felt a lot of sadness when I was a kid. Home was very traumatic. I felt extremely insecure a lot.
Yeah.
I felt like a very constant disappointment to my family that made me feel shame every day. That
Oh
was sort
boy.
of what I carried around and what I was covering up
With the drinking.
with trying to fit in. That was the thing
Right.
that I was concealing with laughter. And
Mm.
eventually, yeah, I think that's why I remember when we first started drinking, it wasn't that immediate trepidation or a sense of, oh my God, this is crazy. It gave way so quickly. I was intoxicated. You're intoxicated when you drink. I was intoxicated in the more emotional sense of almost like love.
Mm.
I was like, oh my God, this is the thing that makes all the pieces fit for me. And yeah, the first time I blacked out was the summer before ninth grade. And it was, oh man, got into a lot of trouble. That's the other thing is I had reason to feel like a disappointment. I was doing very badly in school. I'm hard of hearing. I grew up with hearing loss and
Oh.
had a hearing aid. It was so hard to get through school and hear teachers and pay attention and get. I struggled. I struggled as even in fifth grade. Struggled to focus and stay in class. I got in trouble. I couldn't really hear. I couldn't. It wasn't coming together. I was always getting in trouble and then drinking and
How did you have hearing loss? Was it just congenital or?
congenital. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have hearing aids today. And yeah, it's not a thing that bothers me now, but it made it hard going through school.
Sure, that makes a
Like,
lot of sense. Your parents are mad at you for not getting
yeah,
good
I'm like,
grades and you're
yeah, they're
disappointing.
paying for school and then I'm getting shitty grades. I'm
Right.
spending time in the hall because I'm can't focus on what's going on. I'm acting out and joking around and then I'm in the hallway and then I'm not learning anything and this thing keeps repeating. So I was doing very bad in school. Drinking and smoking weed became a very safe place to feel an escape from what I felt at home and
Mhm.
sort of the shame of being a constant disappointment. And yeah, it had a lot of allure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we've
Hmm.
developed these coping strategies to cover up the
Yeah.
shame that we feel. When did you, I'm sure it escalated. Did you get into any legal trouble or did you have a rock bottom moment? What did that look for, like for you to make you decide that you should quit?
Oh, quit drinking? I thought you meant when I was in eighth grade.
I'm future pacing you a little bit because it's usually it's
Lightning round.
I just zapped you with
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
future.
yeah.
But so you went through a period where it was manageable because I know you mentioned drinking a bit in college.
Yeah, let me go. Let me go lightning round because I'm only 14. This will interview will take forever. Okay. Almost got kicked out of high school. And they said, "Hey, you got to go to summer school. You got to make up the classes you failed and you got to come back and do okay at least or you're not going to go here." And I was lucky to even get into this school. I was on the wait list and I got in. It's like a private school in SF. I went to summer school realized at Oakland Tech summer school, oh man, okay, I don't want to finish high school here. Got back to school. I had many amazing teachers, but the first amazing teacher I had was like the first time I ever was, oh my God, this class is awesome. It was a Shakespeare class. And that was, whoa, Henry the Fourth. I felt myself excited about school for the first time reading Henry the Fourth Part One.
Wow.
And if you ever read Henry the Fourth Part One, whoever's listening, you'll see why. His story was one of drinking and fucking around with Falstaff and being a disappointment to his family until he
Great.
ascended. Yeah, literally. And so I started doing really well in school. Thrilled about school. I was happy for the first time. I think of junior and senior year as some of the happiest times of my life because I was getting
Oh,
straight A's. My parents
wow.
loved it. It also coincided with when my dad wasn't drinking anymore. So the whole
Oh,
house was
sure.
feeling a lot of success. Right.
Nice.
And then I got into Dartmouth, which was super cool. I went there and was rowing, was doing cool stuff, off to a really good start. And then like my sophomore, junior year, yeah, I just started mood swings. Started to feel out of my head level of sadness. I would have
Deep
days where
depression.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't going
Mm.
back to not knowing the language of this stuff, but I was feeling depression. But what it felt like to me was just, why can't I move? Why can't I get out of bed? Why can't I why does brushing my teeth seem so impossible right now? Why can't I
Mm.
talk to someone without feeling like I'm miles away, yet we're face to face? I'd have these days that I felt like that. And then it would go away. And then I would feel like total exuberance. Every crew practice was like this electric experience. And every party, every bout with friends was just like, I was just so alive. And I just sort of, just these, my moods just kind of swung. When I'm 20, 21 or whatever, I got so comfortable with drinking, particularly when I felt out of place, when I felt
Mm.
sadness.
Sad.
And that was just there was the way I mentioned in the beginning, just the way I learned to cope, the way I learned to sort of redirect get my mind away from feeling sad. And then I got out of college. I was actually I'm drinking a lot. I don't really know what's going on with my head. I know something's wrong, but I'm not talking to anybody. It was after college in that first year. It's the first time I remember actually starting to think about, I started to think about being dead. There was times when this sadness would get so bad that I actually was thinking about not contemplation, but ideation at that point. Like, I think being dead might be better than this. If this never stops, I think not being alive would be better than this never stopping.
That is
You know,
brutal. Yeah.
yeah, and that was scary. And I'm still not going back to what I would tell myself. It doesn't have to be this hard. I wasn't talking about this to anybody. And then I had a job working. I worked in a residential treatment for kids. So I was working with juveniles. Most of them had been in a juvenile hall. They were incarcerated kids. It was in Rhode
Mm.
Island. So it was called training school, which is a funny name for it, but that was juvenile hall in Rhode Island is the training school. Or they were foster kids and they were in this program. And I'm working with these kids who have their own trauma. This was a trauma filled place now that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I'm having mood swings that are getting out of control. I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about hurting myself a lot. I'm wondering how I can keep moving forward, feeling this. Because it's when you're having an episode, and I didn't know I was having an episode. I didn't know what bipolar disorder was. I didn't know any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I only know it now. But when you're having an episode, even if you've had a bunch of episodes, the, the characteristic thing to me about them, one of them is you don't think they're going to end. In the moment of
Yeah.
having an episode, you actually lose sight of the fact that they have a beginning, middle, and end. You know,
Okay.
you just sort of forget that, okay, this is an alternating phase of depression and mania. This is like a cold. This is a few days or whatever it is. It doesn't feel that way. You just sort of forget and you think, okay, this is the time where I've completely fucking lost my mind and it's irreversible.
Yeah.
So I was feeling like that a lot. It was very, very scary.
Yeah.
But then I would feel great and I would feel on top of the world. And I physically, mentally felt like I had endless amounts of energy. And one time I was feeling so high. This was the inflection point. I was feeling so euphoric. I had a day off. I had been working 2 weeks straight, nonstop, little sleep. I didn't need to sleep, little food, didn't need to eat much. And I'm like, I'm going to ride my bike all day. I'm going to go do a 50-mile ride. And I ran and biked, but that wasn't like a normal thing for me to do. So I'm going to go ride 50 miles. I'm going to go crazy on it. I felt like I had so much energy. I thought I could burn off this energy and finally get sleep without having to
Mm.
drink to fall asleep. So I went for this bike ride and I still have this energy. And then I was like, I'm going to go to the track. I'm going to run. I'm going to test myself and see if I can run a 5-minute mile. I'm going to go all out. And I did that. And I'm like, still have this energy. And I finally start to wind down. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I feel peaceful. For the first time, I feel like my mind is quiet. This is nice. I could even go to sleep and not need to drink. I feel normal. And I fell asleep on the couch. And I woke up and within 30 seconds, I immediately knew that I was having the worst episode I'd ever had. I woke up
Mm.
and I knew this was the worst day of my life. Woke up on the couch and the sun comes through and I open my eyes and I know that I am in hell.
Wow.
And yeah, I was terrified.
Yeah.
My mind was turning on itself. I just thought I had gone insane. I still haven't really, at this point, I hadn't talked to anybody. I was kind of looking for someone to talk to. I'm unable to speak. I find my boss because I just needed someone near me because I was
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
And he realized I can't even talk. He's let me go get the counselor because there was a counselor there that worked with the kids. He's let me go
Right.
get him
Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm not set up to deal to talk to you right now.
Right. Right.
You
Yeah.
need a professional. But I can't sit in his office alone. So I just start moving.
Yeah.
You want to move. You want to not sit still. So I end up, this was an outdoor facility. So there was a wilderness based therapy was the name of the game there. I'm wandering around the woods and end up in this part of the woods where we would go to have a smoke or a coffee or whatever we did for a break. It's just old. There was 3 campsites, but there used to be 4. So I was in the empty one that we used to mess around in. And we always had a knife on us because we would use it for the counselors wore camouflage pants and had a knife to cut lashings and do all this activities and stuff. I was in that mindset of, I feel I'm in a house that's burning down and it would be better to jump out of the window than to just burn here. And that was
Right.
the best way I can describe my mindset. And so I took my knife out and I pulled it against my wrist. And I'm thinking that's the only way this pain would end. And then this counselor, Mike, who's just like an angel in my life that descended and comes up from behind me and grabs my hand and pulls it away from my wrist. And he takes this knife and he puts me in a bear hug and he pulls me to the ground. And I passed out. I don't remember anything after that except for waking up at a hospital. I just was
Oh
passed out
my
in his
God.
car when I woke up in a psychiatric hospital. And that's where, over the course of 2 weeks, I'm talking to doctors and being medicated with antipsychotics. So I just kind of in a stupor and talking to these people about what might have been going on. They're like, yeah, it appears to us as though you've been suffering from bipolar disorder. That those
Mm,
are the alternating phases of mania and depression that you've been
yeah.
feeling. And I left there with some instructions like, here's your medications. And I had a mood stabilizer and an SSRI. And I also had these antipsychotics to really slow me down. I was I took my pills. I was like, okay, I'm going to take these pills because I don't ever want to feel that again. That was terrifying. I know that. But they're also like, you can't drink and do drugs. Those fuck with the medication. Those also can trigger episodes. They're not good for your brain.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, don't go there. I'm not making, I don't believe that that's a commitment I'm going to make. Therapy and treatment, going to groups, learning about dual diagnosis. There's all these things they're telling me to do. Dual diagnosis being substance abuse disorder and mental illness.
Right.
And I'm like, I did not embrace treatment at all. And I also, the only people that knew what was going on were my girlfriend, who I had just been started seeing within the past 6 months or a year of this happening, who I had not told what was happening in my mind most of the time. She knew, and then obviously this counselor knew, and my boss, who I had run into, knew. And I think I told my best friend. And that was it. That was it. And for the next 10 years, we worked there for 2 years, and then me and her moved to San Francisco. For the next 10 years, I lived in this space of having this illness that I did not take care of. And I self medicated with alcohol and I
Mm,
drank all the time. And I drank amounts that were so dangerous. I started taking pills, Vicodin, at some
mm.
point
Wow. That's a
in the later
dangerous
years of that
mix.
decade. Oh God, I got in fights. I got arrested 3 times. Got my ass kicked in jail. I got hurt a lot. I hurt people. I drove drunk. I drove blacked out. I drove to where anyone crossing the street was in serious fucking peril.
Yeah.
And there we go. There's the answer to your question of, and I'm thinking about my life. I have no, my career is not taking off. I had started real estate, but I couldn't, I was also working part-time jobs because I wasn't really making enough money in real estate. I wasn't doing enough. I wasn't successful at all. Thinking about my life and how much I've valued it was a real thing a lot. I was in immense sadness and a sense of despair a lot. And drinking only stopped that for a day or two. But when I drank, it's not a happy drunk. The pain turned off in one way, but it turned on in another.
Yeah.
It was anger. It was rage. It went outward. It projected from me. I was not
Mm.
safe to be around. I
Yeah.
got my friend arrested one time just for being with me.
Oh,
It's a,
shoot.
you know,
Yeah.
bless his heart, he's still my best friend. But
Wow.
uh, and yeah, so the rock bottom, I suppose, if you can't see it already, it was the last night I ever drank. It was one night I went out. I remember no one really wanted to. People kind of, I think, were staying away from me. It's like, how much could we be around this dude?
Yeah.
We love you from who we know you are deep down, the person we knew when we were 20 on the crew team or in our fraternity or whatever. You're this sweet kid with a big heart, but you're fucking a mess.
Yeah.
And so I'd go out a lot by myself. I would end up drinking by myself a lot. I'd go out and went to this bar by myself. I met up with some people I hadn't seen since college. So they didn't know me. They thought I was still kind of like normal, a little bit more sort of tempered person. And I was in an awful place. I thought that my girlfriend, same girl, was, she had told me recently, like, I don't know if I can watch this anymore. Like, I can't not
Mm.
know
Yeah.
if you're in jail. I can't not know where the fuck you are. This is scary. And
Yeah.
so I thought she was leaving. And I'm starting to really not care. Like, I'm deteriorating and I'm starting to feel okay with that. And I'm thinking that the
Yeah.
only real partner I have in my life is alcohol. I felt connected to alcohol in the same way of like it was a companion. And I'm like,
100%.
it's very loyal.
Hmm.
It won't leave you. It is always there and plentiful and available whenever you need it. I was starting to feel like I'm okay. This can be my best friend. This can be my partner. This can be my companion. And we'll ride off into the sunset together. And if I die, I die, like one way or another. But I was starting to become okay with this in a way. This one night I had just was in an awful place. And I just was like, just gonna drink and see how much I can, see how drown myself in alcohol and just see how deep it goes. And last thing I remember is I was outside having a smoke, having a cigarette, and it was the last thing I remember. I woke up in my apartment and I got blood all over me. I've got these cuts in my head, and I've got these bruises, and I've got these cuts on my hand. I've got these bruises on my body. I have no idea. To this day, what happened that night. I was terrified. I mean, you usually remember a couple little details of these nights, like
Hmm.
little things to just sort
Little
of know.
flashes.
Yeah, where you're like, you could kind of connect the dots to sort of see a path of, all right, I went here, then I went here, then I had pizza, and I went to bed. Hopefully nothing too weird happened in those intervals I can't remember, but you sort of trust that if I remembered pizza, I definitely would have remembered if something insane had happened. But this one was different. This was the first time the pages were missing from the book. Is like the metaphor. There was not a shred of memory. And
Really.
so I'm terrified and I'm starting to wonder what happened. And is there someone else hurt on the other side of this? I clearly did I either fell on the stairs or I got in a fight or got my jumped. I have no idea. But the way I acted when I drank always led to me getting into confrontations because I was, I was hurting. And so I acted that way.
You're
Uh,
angry.
yeah. And so then I'm starting to wonder how I got home. And I'm like, damn, I have my keys on me. There's no way I drove. Even in that state, I would have known not to drive because I was 7 miles away from my apartment on the other side of town across a crowded Saturday night city. I'm like, there's no way I drove. But I'm trying to figure out how I got home. I have no cab receipts. There's no way I could have walked because it was 7 miles. And I'm doing things, checking my wallet for receipts and or checking my phone to see who I called, going online to see my Wells Fargo. Did I pay for a cab? What the hell's going on? And then I'm like, I need to go outside. I gotta see if my car's outside. So I'm wandering around the neighborhood, just praying that I don't find my car, you know. And I'm like, go a few blocks, and my heart is racing. And I'm like, sure enough, I see the bumper, I see my car in the spot, and I'm terrified. I get to my car, and there's blood on the handle and inside the car, and
Oh, wow.
I'm like, yeah, now I'm starting to wonder what happened. Did I hurt someone? Whose blood is this? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And I say, go inside. And I remember going online to see if there was reported hit and runs. That was how completely separated from any memory. Was I didn't no idea. And so that was that cigarette outside a bar after finishing it, and that last drink was the last drink I've ever had. And I remember it it should have been obvious already. Enough people had told me, and enough things had happened to where it should have been apparent that I was putting other people at risk, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing about being addicted to a drug or alcohol. It's like you just talk yourself into whatever you need to talk yourself into to get to the next day. You convince yourself that you have a plan to quit eventually, or that you can manage it, or that it'll become, you could moderate it, or that other people are just wrong and they don't get it. Or you convince yourself of these things to just keep going one more day, one more day. And then finally that morning, I'm not only going to hurt myself, I'm going to fucking hurt somebody.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my girlfriend in a place where I'm changing her life for the worse forever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the reason someone gets a phone call from a hospital that someone, that their son or daughter or whatever is hurt or worse.
Yeah.
This isn't about me. I am a menace. And I knew, I just had clarity for the first time. And I went to I told my girlfriend, don't leave. I'm going to do this. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do this. And just don't leave. Give me a chance. I'm going to fix this. And I know I can. And I had a sense of purpose and strength and clarity that I had not had in a very, very, very long time. And she took me over to an outpatient chemical dependency recovery program, outpatient rehab, basically. And
Oh,
I talked to a counselor there, and I told her, she was a clinical psychologist. This was her focus, was drug and alcohol addiction and recovery. I told her what my life had looked like for the past, I told her everything I told you up to this point of what I'd been doing since I was 18. She looked at me square and she's like, Dave, if you don't stop drinking, you're not going to survive. She told me straight up, this woman told me straight up that I was going to die. And she said it with a sense of certitude and of this calm, composed clarity. I just believed it. She
yeah.
believed it. And I knew she was right.
Yeah.
And she's like, you have to stop drinking if you want to live. Now that was the message, right? And I'm like, but I'm barely, I don't know, I was 29 or 30. I mean, I'm like, my life is is so early on. And she's talking about me perishing. And I believed
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
And I left and I drove to my office, and I just, the sky, the water, everything changed color around me. And I could see something for the first time in a while, that I could do this and I could do something. And I got to my office and I had this idea. I'm like, I can't, I've let myself down so many times in this, because it's not like over that past 10 years, I hadn't thought about stopping. I had plenty of points of slowing down, and even some periods where I'd slowed down pretty successfully and had limited, okay, I'm only having 10 drinks tonight, which is still a lot, but it was a limit. And then at some point I was only having 6 drinks, and I was running again, and I had these periods of success, but I never believed that they would sustain, and they never did. I could let myself down. I had this idea that, what if I made the commitment to everybody around me who was still a part of my life? What if I made this commitment out loud? Because I knew I knew that a strength I had was loyalty and commitment to other people. And I knew I didn't let down my teammates. I knew I was always there for my friends in whatever shape I was in. I was a loyal friend. And so I just said, what if I tell everyone? What if I tell everyone that I'm stopping, and ask for their help, and for them to just be aware and support me in any way they were willing to do, and just shout this out and be super, basically be vulnerable and do what I
Yeah.
probably should have done a long time ago. And so before I could think twice about it, I wrote this email. I said, I know that I have a problem. You know, I have a problem. And I know that I started with telling everyone that I had woke up and blood all over me and in my car. And I'm so scared. And I know I need to not have a drop of alcohol in me for a long time, and maybe forever. And I wrote maybe forever, because I really knew. And I hit send before I could think twice about this. Like,
Let's talk about courage.
this was 9:30 in the morning before I could lose this clarity, let it subside again, and convince myself that I could somehow continue this. I was there. That was the last drink I ever had. The people wrote me back, and many of them are still in my life. My girlfriend is my wife now. She's the my she's an angel. We have a family. We have a life together. She stayed by my side through all this and came out the other side with me. And it is the only reason that I am here right now talking to you. I'm sure of that. A lot of my friends and my sisters and my parents and everyone was like, we're here, like we're still here. This is so wonderful to hear. And
Yeah.
let's go to a movie. Let's go shoot hoop. Let's go run. Let's go, whatever you want to do. Not at a bar. We're in. We're locked in. Let's do
That's
it.
so amazing.
Yeah. So that's it. That was the descent. And then what was at least my rock bottom. I understand rock bottom is a phrase that's used a lot, and a lot of people's rock bottoms are worse than that. The true rock bottom is not making it. And it can get worse. But
Yeah.
that was my rock bottom. And when I stopped.
Yeah. Rock bottom is typically when you decide to stop digging, right? Because there's always an escape
Yeah,
hatch below that. There's
for
always
sure.
a
There's
lower
50 feet
level.
below it.
But it's when you decide to stop. And it sounds like you had in recovery, they talk about post-traumatic stress growth,
Yeah.
right? That's what I feel like a rock bottom represents. It's a traumatic experience followed by a profound level of growth. You acted on a moment of willingness. You demonstrated courage and got accountability. You did all the right things.
Hmm.
And you and I had talked before, and you mentioned that you participated in some peer support groups, maybe 12 step a little bit, and that was good for you for a while. And that it doesn't sound like you're really participating in those communities, but it sounded like you really benefited from it. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I started within the first week. I was like, I got to go to AA. That seems like the thing. I knew my dad had
Yeah.
done it, and that's just was like, that's a thing that you do, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty common.
Yeah, and I didn't know much about it. I went to meetings for a little while. I didn't, if I was a little bit more mature, when I was a younger person, my approach to quitting was I did it and I'm here, but it wasn't with the same clarity or sort of, it wasn't with the same maturity that I have now, obviously. I could have gotten more help. I could have used more resources. I use my tools. I use my toughness. I use my sense of when a workout is hard, you keep pushing. I use
Mhm.
that I had learned over the course of my life to get through hard stuff. But I didn't take the easiest pathway. I mean, it was the white knuckles approach for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
just grit my teeth and bore it quite a few days, quite a few nights. I went to the gym at 11 p.m. on weekends to be at a place that wasn't the bar when I was used to drinking, which is a good thing. I'm glad I did. It just wasn't, I didn't always take the the easiest route.
Yeah. I
Uh,
hear exercise for a lot of people it's very helpful.
oh, and
And
it still is.
different
Oh, yeah.
things work for different people. And I just want to clarify meetings and the program are two separate things and they're both helpful,
Yeah.
right? And it sounds like you got what you needed. You've been
I
sober
got what
for,
I needed. Yeah, I got what I needed from it. Could have
yeah,
gotten more. I started going to AA again later,
yeah,
up until COVID actually, and then kept going online to some Zoom
yeah,
AA meetings for a while. And yeah, I feel like I got what I needed. The community's amazing. Yeah, but I was, we talked about a bit earlier, you stop drinking and you remove that from the equation. And we have so much intelligence and creativity and drive. Humans are amazing. Like
yeah,
our heart and soul and mind are fucking incredible.
yeah,
And if we let them be at their full potential, amazing things can start happening. And so I
yeah,
just started to, within a year, me and my wife, we were engaged. I got a dog. I love these dogs. And I'm doing great at work. I didn't quit drinking to do good at work, but it was a byproduct of it. And I'm
yeah,
like, success became addictive. Success became the
yeah.
thing that I realized, oh wow, I can do so much now. I'm kicking
Yeah.
ass now.
It's amazing
Within
once it's like you have all this energy that's sort of a tornado, and then when you drop the alcohol and you put blinders on, oh, suddenly you have principles and goals, and you have the ability and resources to focus your energy on something. That energy can propel you very far, and amazing things can happen.
totally, that's my message to people about drinking. It's not that it's bad, that it's evil, that I judge you for it. or that you aren't enlightened and don't get it. It's not that. It's just it's simply that you're amazing and you can do amazing things, but you are standing under a shadow. There are you're putting handcuffs on yourself.
Yeah.
And
That's what I was just thinking. The handcuffs analogy is really good.
yeah, it's as simple as this. It takes energy from you. It takes
Yeah.
energy. Your body has to do work to get rid of it. Your mind, instead of being locked in at work, doing the next thing to propel you at 3 p.m., your mind is using energy to think about a drink.
Hmm.
And what if that energy was repurposed and used towards one more fucking cold call or project or
Right.
meeting or whatever or the gym or whatever, or painting or whatever your goal is? What if
Yeah.
that energy of thinking about your next drink was given back to time with your family, time at your job, time with your passion, and
Yeah.
all those hours of better focus and better energy compound over a lifetime, over a year, over 10 years? What's the end result of that? It's your full bloom.
Yeah.
It's everything that you can do. And that's my message about drinking. Don't do it. It's what if you didn't? What would that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. No shame. All
No,
possibility.
no, I totally get why people drink.
Untapped
I,
possibility.
I get it,
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, me too. I
Right.
understand.
Yeah, yeah. No,
It
there's
ain't
no
right,
doubt.
but I understand.
Right, right.
Yeah, I love that message, David. I'm so glad you wrote this book. I really do feel like this is going to shortcut the suffering for people. Hearing your story of undiagnosed bipolar, childhood trauma, growing up with
Hmm.
an alcoholic parent, and having all that and being able to overcome something that's so challenging, right? You're the guy that makes the hard choices so you can have a better life. And I really
Hmm.
feel like that is the message of hope, right? That this can be, no matter how far down the scale you go, you can overcome this and thrive in life and be a blessing and have a positive impact on the people around you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. And I always want people to know, yeah, I own a business now and we're doing great. And there is all this good shit happening, you said. And we have a kid and he's awesome. And our business is thriving. And there's some amazing people I get to work with every day. And it's all good. But I make clear, I remind myself and I remind people whenever I have the opportunity that I didn't stop drinking and start taking care of myself. And then day one was like, oh, cool. I'm going to start on my path to starting a company and
Yeah,
having it be this big or this anything. It is like the one day at a time. We say it all the time, but it's so true. It's not
yeah,
about I have to achieve this or I haven't done anything. It's as simple as what should I do today? If my goal
right.
is this, all I got to do today is something that works towards it. If my goal
Yeah,
is to start a company, what should I do today? I should get better at what I'm doing and learn more about this industry and
yeah,
start to make one dot on my vision board of what that would look like. That's all you got to do today. If your goal is, if you're a musician or you're an artist and you want to expand your territory, what do I do today? I work on one more song. I work on one more piece. I take one step. You don't have to make it big, and it's better not to make it big. It's just
baby steps. Yeah,
every day is what should I do today to work a little closer to my goal? And those things are simple. It's don't drink, stay on that course, take care of myself, and map out what my day is going to look like and make the hard choice to get all that stuff done. And then you're good. And then go home and watch basketball. That's it. It doesn't have to be big. And as soon as you make it too big, it gets really overwhelming and intimidating. And that's a
yeah, that's the
relapse
thing.
point to me. That's where I
Yeah,
see relapse opportunities, is when I create a sense of failure for myself by
yeah,
asking too much of myself.
yeah. I love that. It's good to know. Listen, you've clearly done the work. I know lots of therapy is gotten you to where you are now. And I feel a lot of recovery is about emotion management. So it takes a lot of courage to
Hmm.
stay the course and do the self-reflection. And for a lot of people, that's what works. Maybe we need a little community support through the peer support programs. But at some point, I almost feel everybody would benefit from some deep one-on-one reflective work, right? So that you can continue and grow at a deeper level. I
Yeah,
think that's really
I agree.
important.
I think that's right.
Well, we need to kind of land the plane here. What do you see for your future now?
Yeah.
You've written this
The
book, you're sharing
But
your
yeah,
message.
but the plane ride was great. It was a great flight. Yeah, let's it's time to land. Yeah, I wrote this book because I knew my experience could help other people. That's the goal. And so I did that, and that came out a month or so ago. And it's called I Am Someone. And the goal was simple: use my experience to hold up a mirror that someone might see some aspect of themselves,
Yeah.
and it might give someone a trigger or a spark of an idea about how to shortcut some of the unnecessary pain and anguish that comes from not seeking help and not being vulnerable. That was it. It's The book was a big endeavor of vulnerability for the hope of helping other people.
That's a lot of
Um,
work. Yeah.
it's a wild story, and there's some parts that are funny. There's some parts that are devastating, and there's everything in between. It's just the story, and it's the truth, and it's the reality. It shows what can happen with some courage and some love in your
Yeah.
community and some perseverance on your end and some support from some others. It shows what can happen. Yeah, I want to use that book. I'm going to keep kind of cultivating that message and letting it help people, whether it's talking to them individually, whether it's doing an interview with someone like yourself, with an audience, whether it's talking to people in these vulnerable communities that need it, talking at AA and sharing the story there. Anywhere where there is the target audience is a vulnerable community, the recovery and the mental health community, and those around them. It's The book is so
Yeah.
that parents can understand their kid who might be struggling in a way that changes their perspective and unlocks another layer of empathy and understanding. It's for that community. Yeah. I feel at my best when I'm helping other people. And I realized that at
Yeah.
some point. And while I keep continuing my entrepreneurial business endeavor, I know that helping people, specifically also helping people in the space of mental health and recovery, makes me feel very good. Hey, I have your back. And there's people
Yeah.
that have your back. And
100%.
there are for sure people to talk to. And I want people to know that. I want people to do it. I want them to know what I know now, but didn't know then.
Yeah. I'm going to leave links to your book in the show notes so people can find it. But if people are interested in reaching out to you on social media, where can they find you?
Yeah. David Shamszad, Shamszad. Also have a website with links to all this stuff, davidshamszad.com, Shamszad. So you can find my stuff there. And the book is I Am Someone on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold.
Awesome. I'll leave links to everything in the show
All
notes. And
right.
I just listen from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for your vulnerability and for your willingness to share your story. Hope is hearing other people's experiences.
Yeah.
I
Well,
feel
thank
like we
you for
mission
having a
accomplished
platform for
today,
it.
huh?
Yeah, the plane was landed successfully. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks
All
so
right.
much. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks.